Well, good evening. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to 3 News and the big story of the tropics. And keep in mind, September 10th is usually the peak of hurricane and tropical activity in the Atlantic Basin. And that's typically when we see the most activity based on 100-year averages. Now, usually through about the end of September and even early October, we continue to see tropical activity, and then it slowly trends down after September 10th. Now, we're keeping an eye on 4 tropical waves in the Atlantic Ocean. Take a look, one off the coast of Florida. But good news, that particular tropical wave, again off the lower eastern coast of the United States, is moving away from the Gulf of Mexico. That is moving back into the Atlantic. So we don't have to worry about that. That has a pretty good chance at formation over the next couple days. And then 2 in the open Atlantic off the coast of Africa. Those have low-end chances at development over the next 5 days or so until later on next week. The one that we need to keep a close eye on is the one in the eastern Atlantic, and this one out of the 4 has the best chance at development to turn into our next named system. Now, based on model guidance, it looks like it may become a tropical depression as early as tomorrow, maybe even Tuesday. Now, look at the track and our computer models, see where they are taking this particular tropical wave. It is dubbed the name Invest 99L. Invest short for investigation. That is set out by the National Hurricane Center. But you'll see where it's taking Invest 99L closer to Central America, Belize, Honduras, southern Mexico. And from there, about, let's say, Friday into early next weekend, we'll have to watch very closely what it does from there. But right now, it looks like it has a more westerly track through late next week as opposed to a northwesterly track. And that is good news because Marco had more of a northwesterly track as it moved in the Gulf of Mexico. But this one, we'll keep an eye on it. But right now, it looks to mainly focus itself over southern Mexico. Okay, back here at home over the Lone Star State, you can see a few showers and storms out in the central Gulf of Mexico near New Orleans and southern Louisiana. Back here at home, we're dealing with the heat and the humidity. As you know, heat advisory in effect until 7 o'clock tonight for most counties out across the coastal bend, and again that expires at 7 p.m. tonight. And we'll see if the National Weather Service does reissue it for tomorrow, because I do think it's going to be just as hot as we kick off the work week. Right now, temperature middle 90s out across the area, 96 in Mathis, closing in on 100 degrees over in Beeville, 99 in Alice, and at 91 in Falfurrias. But you tag on humidity, this is how it feels outside. 116 in Beeville, 105 in Rockport, 115 in Alice. Just dangerous to extreme numbers and values out there this afternoon. So please, if you can, limit time outside because it stays hot through tonight. They're at least 7:30, 8 o'clock. Temperatures near 92 through about 6:30. And that heat index will be upwards of 100 and 105 as well. It's not until overnight we start to cool down slowly but surely. Morning lows around 82 to 83, which is extremely warm for this time this year. Partly cloudy to mostly clear into your early Monday morning. Okay, the upper level setup. What goes on over the next couple days for our forecast? Well, good news, the heat high. The upper level ridge of high pressure moves off to the south and west, and that suppresses the heat for the moment through about Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. In addition, it opens up the door for very minimal rain chances to come in. We're not looking at soakers in the forecast, but the door will open for a few isolated showers to work into Corpus Christi. You'll see over in North Texas and even Oklahoma more of the widespread rain, but here in Corpus Christi, in our viewing area, between a tenth to half an inch will be possible through next Sunday. Again, if you get under a lucky shower or storm over the next week or so. So we'll keep a chance at isolated showers, mainly focused on Friday into early next weekend. Otherwise, hot and humid will be the name of the game. Okay, tomorrow, high near 96. Heat index values upwards of 110 to 112. A lot of sunshine, UV index up to extreme, and water temperatures upper 80s. 7-day forecast shows a small chance at rain for Monday. Friday and next weekend offers up a better chance at a few isolated showers and storms in our forecast. Kayla.
Thank you, Ryan.